Welcome to Pilgrim Lanes in Haverhill, Massachusetts for some more action from the Pro Series playoffs tournament. This is the fourth round, and what you've got in front of you is on lane 7 and 8, a match between Shawn Morrison and Chris Boisvert, and on lane 5 and 6, Craig Holbrook faces Mike Morgan. This is actually the semifinal round, as the winners of these two matches will face each other for the Pro Series playoff title. Shawn Morrison starts off with a 10 box, while Craig Holbrook had a 9. And Shawn makes a nice try, but doesn't quite convert the 5, 8, 9, 10 spare. Shawn Morrison is no stranger to Pro Series fans, as he has had an outstanding year this year. He's also the reigning Maine state champion in 2011. He won that title earlier this month. It might have been April. And in any case, Shawn is the Maine state all events champ. And as you know, Craig Holbrook is the bowler of the year on the Pro Series. Mike Morgan, Craig's opponent, is well known to most of you. He has a long career that's included world singles titles, many TV appearances, and stake titles, and most recently he picked up a win at the Pro Series Ultimate Ladder Tournament at Canal Lanes out in Southampton. And Mike is also a standout on the Senior Pro Candlepin Tour, as you recall from one of the tournaments we showed you a little bit of at Mohegan Bowl earlier this year, where Mike had a 4-bag. He had 4 strikes in a row, and he won that tournament, shooting somewhere around 700. I don't remember exactly the total. So Chris Boisvert has 23 after 2, and Shawn Morrison with 20. Meanwhile, Craig Holbrook puts 9 on his spare in the second box, and just goes by the 7 pin. Shawn Morrison looks at the 3, 5, 6, 10. Shawn is also a member of the team that won the June mixed team tournament up at Park Place Lanes in Windham, New Hampshire last year. And he's also a standout in the World Team Invitational Tournament that happens every November. And it's another spare by Shawn Morrison on 7. And you probably remember Mike Morgan from his many appearances on the Channel 5 Candlepin Bowling Show. He and his late brother Tom were regulars on that show for a long time, and in fact there was they bowled each other at least once on the Channel 50 Candlepin Stars and Strikes show. You can find that on YouTube, Mike versus Tom. They were a couple of standouts for a long time, and Mike, of course, is still pretty much at the top of the sport. There's a spare by Chris Boisvert. Shawn Morrison reached this round with an earlier win over Eric Pelletier in the previous round. And let's see. Anyway, he's looking at the 1-7-10 for another spare, and he's got it. That's a great shot right there by Chris Boisvert. Let's take another look at that shot and see exactly how Chris takes down this 1-7-10. You can see it's the right side, and that piece of wood behind the head pin also came into play. I think it helped direct the ball toward the right side wall, where it ended up taking out the 10 pin. A couple of nice spares by Chris Boisvert. Shawn Morrison with a 7 on the spare. He's got 50. Let's see, what does he have? He's got 56 after 4. Chris Boisvert with 50 with the ball working. Meanwhile, Craig Holbrook has 60 through 5 against Mike Morgan. Shawn drops 8, leaving a 1-10, and got a piece of wood sort of parallel to the lane that is to the right of the head pin. I'm not sure if that's going to help him at all. And he might have been trying to get the ball to hit the head pin and go over into that wood, but just didn't get enough of the head pin. So it'll be an open box, and he makes it a 10. 76 through 6 for Shawn Morrison. So Chris Boisvert comes up working on a spare. And there's a strike by Mike Morgan over on lane 6. Nice ball by Mike. And Chris Boisvert with a 9 drop, leaving a 7 pin with a bunch of wood. Doesn't look like he's going to have a lot of trouble with this. Another spare by Chris Boisvert. That gives him 59 through 4, and then so he's got 69 through 5 with a ball working. 266 for Shawn Morrison. Meanwhile, Mike Morgan with a 7 on the strike and then 7 in the box. A little disappointing way to follow up that strike. So he has 75 through 6 against Craig Holbrook's 70. Chris Boisvert looking at an 8 pin with a piece of wood in front of it that is at an angle, and it's not clear exactly what he's going to have to do with it. He'll probably have to go pretty high toward the right end of the wood. And wow, that was a tough piece of wood, because he did go fairly high, but just not quite high enough, and the wood didn't take the 8, and neither did the ball, so it's going to be an open, and it'll be 9 bucks. Shawn Morrison back up on lane 8, and he punches right through the middle. I think he punched out the 1-5. It's a little hard to see from here. Yeah, that was the 1-5, and then he punched out the 3-9 there. So a couple of good balls, but not much to show for it. He's just he's going to need a big out here. And that's a nice out, really excellent way to work it out for a 9. That gives Shawn 85 through 7. And a solid ball. And it's a strike. It is a strike for Shawn Morrison. Let's take another look at it to see how that went down. It was, as you can see, a pretty solid hit, high flush in the 1-2 pocket, and the 7 takes a while to go, but it does go down, so it's a strike in the 8th, giving Shawn Morrison 95 plus the strike fill. Chris Boisvert back up on lane 8, drops 9, leaving a 5 pin. Meanwhile, Mike Morgan with an 8 drop and a split. I think that's a 4-6 over there, and he just got one of the two. And Chris Boisvert makes a spare on lane 8. That gives him 97 with a ball through 7. And the fill is just going to be 3, so that's 100. It gives him a 15 pin lead over Shawn Morrison, 100 to 85 through 7, but of course he's up against that strike by Morrison in the 8th, so he's going to lose some pins there because he doesn't make the spare. Chris will be looking at the 1, 5, and 7 of the piece of wood, and he ends up with a 9 box, so he has 109 through 8. Craig Holbrook with an 8 drop over there on lane 6. 4-7 with some wood. Shouldn't be any kind of a problem, and he finishes that off. So Shawn Morrison drops 7. He misses the head pin and leaves a 1-7-8, which is going to be a really tough spare. And he does a good job getting 2 of the 3. So that's a 9 fill on the strike, giving him 104. 8. And a 10 box in the 9th, so he has 114. Meanwhile, Craig Holbrook filled his spare with 7 and wasn't able to convert that 5, 8, 10 spare over there. And Craig Holbrook finishes with a 9 box for a 114 game. So, and Shawn Morrison makes a spare in the 10th, converting the 3-5. Not a very clean shot, but he got it. Got a piece of wood to deflect the ball into the 3-5. He'll finish his fill ball. He has 124 with 1 ball remaining. And meanwhile, Mike Morgan is up for his last 2. And it's just 2 on the spare, so Shawn Morrison ends up with a 126 game. Now Chris Boisvert will roll his last 2. And there's a nice 10 box by Mike Morgan on lane 6. He has 110 through 9. That gives him a 5-pin lead over Craig Holbrook. And he can pick up another pin because Craig had that 9 box in the 10th frame. And there is a 9 drop by Mike on lane 5. He's got a 10 pin. A little hard to see, but there's a 10 pin there. And he's got it. So that's going to give Mike Morgan a lead of 6 plus whatever he records on the fill ball. Meanwhile, Chris Boisvert has a 9 box in the 9th. Mike Morgan fills the spare with 7, giving him a 127, so he has the lead over Craig Holbrook by 13, 127 to 114 at the end of the first string of this match. And Chris Boisvert on lane 7 has a threw a nice ball in the 1-2 pocket, but he left a 5-10 split with not much help. There's a piece of wood in front of the 10 pin, but I don't think it's not very likely to be helpful. He could try it. He doesn't. He tries to cut the 5 over into the 10 and makes a pretty good bid, but didn't cut it thin enough. So it's 10 bucks, and Chris Boisvert has a 127 to 126 lead over Shawn Morrison after the first string. We will be back for the second string shortly.